Take a look at this ad. What do you feel? It's decades old, the paper is yellow, the font is outdated, and the product it's selling is technically obsolete. Yet it still feels more powerful than anything that we see today. We've all felt the weight of iconic heritage brands. Brands like Rolex, Marlboro, Patek Philippe, Porsche, and even Hermès. They don't feel like companies trying to sell you something. They literally feel like institutions. They feel iconic. The question is, why? In an era with more data, more technology, and more connections, why do we keep going back to the past to find the standard, the gold standard for premium advertising? Why does a brand from 50 years ago feel iconic and hold weight and feels like it has a soul, while modern brands just feel boring? And what if I told you that this didn't happen by chance? Over the last century, these brands have mastered psychology in a way that transformed the essence of their business to becoming a part of the culture. And in this video, we're going to be going through these exact principles, strategies, and advertising campaigns that these brands have used to answer one specific question: why do old brands feel iconic? My name is Omar, and over the past 5 years, I've been helping premium brands scale online across multiple industries, across different verticals, using these exact same principles. And I'm about to show you what those are, so let's get straight into it. If I were to ask you, list 3 brands that you feel are iconic, you'd have no difficulty doing it. The hard part is really defining what iconic means. You see, an icon isn't just a famous brand. It's a brand or a business that underwent a specific transformation. It went from a business selling a product to transcending that reality and becoming a symbol. Think about it. A watch is just a tool, right, that you use every single day, unless it becomes a Rolex. A car will take you from A to B until it becomes a Ferrari. You see, these brands have moved past the point of just selling you on features and, competing on benefits and whatnot. They don't compete on better or cheaper. They have reached a level where they represent a lifestyle, a way of moving through the world. But how do you reach that level? How do you get from being a business that people buy a product from to becoming a business where you're selling identity and people buy that identity from you rather than the product? It comes down to 3 fundamental principles. And honestly, the first principle is the one that creates the weight we feel when we speak about those brands, and it's identity. You see, if a brand is going to go through the trouble of becoming a symbol, it needs a soul, and that soul is the identity. You see, while most businesses, most brands focus on what they do, what they sell, how it impacts their customers, iconic premium brands focus on who they are. Their products are only a mechanism to sell the reflection of the person who owns it. You see, most brands out there are running around trying to please everyone, but iconic brands are very comfortable at saying no, and they know their particular audience isn't just looking for a tool, a product, or some kind of commodity. They're looking to fulfill an ambition or to reflect an identity. They're looking for a lifestyle. One of the best examples of this is Hermès. You see, in the early 1900s, Émile Maurice Hermès was running a family business that was staring at its grave. For nearly 80 years prior to that, they had been the world's best saddler, but the horse was being replaced by the horseless carriage, the car. And so while the entire family panicked, Émile Maurice did something very unusual. He actually traveled to America to visit Henry Ford's factories. So imagine him in Detroit sitting in the assembly line having an epiphany. He actually saw the future. He saw thousands of cars being manufactured through an assembly line, being churned out by machines and by men. And you see, while most businessmen would have admired the efficiency, on the contrary, what happened to him is that he was repulsed by what he saw. He realized that in a world of mass-produced goods, the human touch would become the ultimate luxury. He saw that as the world was getting faster and faster, a certain audience within the marketplace would crave slow. But the real breakthrough came from an unusual place: military car. He noticed the ancestor of the zipper, essentially, on the car's canvas top. And so while Ford saw a way to build cars faster, Émile Maurice saw the opportunity to bring the identity of the saddle into the modern age. He brought a zipper back with him, patented it, and began applying saddle stitching. And so what's fun about this is he didn't try to compete with cars. He wanted to outfit the person inside the car. He realized that the Hermès identity wasn't just about the horses, it was about the craft. He famously told his artisans that even though they weren't making any harnesses, every bag had to be made made as if a life depended on it. He completely refused the assembly line. He persisted with the one artisan, one bag philosophy that he had, and the outcome was legendary. By refusing the philosophy that Ford encompassed, he transformed Hermès from being a dying business into becoming a cultural icon. He recreated the brand for the person who wanted to signal that they were different from the mass-produced crowd. And he saved the company not by changing what they did, but really by owning in on who they really were, ensuring that 100 years later, a Hermès bag is still a symbol of craftsmanship and dedication. But having a soul is only half of the battle being won. You see, for an identity to be unique and iconic, it must be visible. It needs a face so unique that it can be recognized without having to speak a word. Leading us to the second principle, which is distinctiveness. You see, having an identity is useless if you look like every single one of your competitors. To become truly iconic, a brand must be unmistakable. You see, most brands try to be better, and they'll end up competing on quality, on price. But honestly, better is subjective, and it's a trap, and it can easily be copied in today's landscape. Iconic brands focus on being distinctive. They want to carve out a specific corner of your brain so that you can recognize them in a split second, even if the logo is covered and the name is never spoken. Take a look at this picture. Can you guess which brand it is? And what about this one? You see, you probably guessed it right. But how did you recognize these brands without any logos? You see, distinctiveness is built through what we call sensory assets. It is the specific Ferrari red, a unique silhouette of a bottle. It is a visual and auditory language that the brand uses to claim territory in the physical world. Now picture this. It's 1915. Coca-Cola is successful. However, they're being brushed by competitors. Dozens of copycats are springing left and right, like Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, and the problem is the name sounds the same, the product is nearly identical, and the problem was if you looked at an ice bucket with a lot of bottles in it, you wouldn't be able to make the difference until you tasted the product. But by then, customer had already paid and the sale was done. And so the people there actually thought about this very, very hard, and they identified the problem, which was that their identity was invisible. And they issued a brief at the time that after a while became legendary in the design space because they asked to design a bottle that was so distinctive that it could be identified in the dark if only you touched it with your hands, or even if you saw it broken on the ground. And so a team in Indiana took the brief literally, and they looked for a shape that was organic and unique, eventually drawing inspiration from the unique features of a cocoa pod. And in 1915, they patented the contour bottle. And this single shift is actually the reason why Coca-Cola had such a meteoric rise. It's because it became unique and distinct from its competitors. And the result was so successful that in the 1960s, it was granted a trademark status, which is quite rare for packaging. And so that's why today you can show the shadow of a bottle to someone in a remote area or someone that lives in the city, and they will recognize it straight away. But distinctiveness goes way beyond a color or shape. It is also about communication. You see, iconic brands build a world. They build you an environment around their product. They don't just tell you what they sell. They actually show you in which environments their products are best used, the atmosphere, the people involved, and the environment where their brand lives. And in the early 50s, Marlboro was a struggling business that, believe it or not, marketed solely to women. Its slogan was mild as May, and the cigarettes even featured a red beauty tip to hide lipstick stains. But as the market shifted, the brand needed a change. So here's what they did. The challenge was monumental, of course. How do you take a product that's exclusively marketed to women and you make it attractive to the post-war, hard-working American man? You see, most brands maybe would have ran with the features, the benefits, a list, of things that you can accomplish with the product. But Marlboro did the opposite. They literally stopped talking about the product and instead focused on the environment and the atmosphere that came with the product. In 1954, ad man Leo Burnett created the Marlboro Man, and what he did to advertise it was very, very clever. He didn't just put a guy wearing a cowboy hat in a billboard. No, he created the Marlboro country. He tapped into the vast golden landscapes of the American West and the manly independence of a cowboy. They also moved the brand to Formula One and high-stakes adventure. So they didn't sell you what the product does, they sold you the atmosphere and the environment in which it lives. And by By using the same cinematic lighting, the same manly archetypes, they made the brand's communication feel like a movie that you wanted to be a part of. And the result was so powerful that they decided at some point to eventually strip the text from their ads entirely. It would just have to show a picture of a saddle or a sunset, and the people would actually know that it was from them. And that's how they became the #1 in their category. But while identity gives a business a soul and distinctiveness gives it a face, there is one final ingredient that turns a famous brand into an icon, and that's time. You see, at the start of the video, I mentioned that a brand to become iconic needs to transcend the product and become a symbol. But symbols aren't built overnight. To truly become iconic, you have to ingrain yourself into culture. But what is culture really? Culture isn't what's viral today and gone tomorrow. No, it's what stands the test of time. It is a collection of stories, rituals, and symbols that are repeated over and over and over again, passed down from one generation to the next, until they become second nature to a population. And this is what heritage actually means. Heritage is consistency over decades. The reason these brands feel iconic is because they've survived wars, recessions, fashion shifts without losing their core. And what these brands really understand is the relief that familiarity creates. You see, everything around us today is in a constant state of change. You've got technology that becomes obsolete in months, fashion trends that disappear in weeks, and even the way we communicate with each other is changing by the hour. And this constant change creates what we call a cultural stress, a feeling that nothing is solid and everything is replaceable. But while the world is spinning, these brands offer the comfort and the relief of never changing. They provide a safe space in the mind of the customer. It is a profound relief to understand and to know that while everything is actually changing, certain things will remain the same. You see, the weight of a specific watch, the smell of a certain leather product, the curve of a specific logo, they remain stable. But the heritage can also be a trap because it's a fine line between avoiding change and becoming obsolete, and avoiding change because you know who you are and you stand the test of time. See, an iconic brand might modernize the technology they use, the tools they use, but they will never compromise on their essence. And this creates trust. You see, once you build these mental associations with your customer over generations, it becomes a part of the customer's internal map of the world. It's the first pen that the father used to sign his first contract. It's the trunk that your grandmother used to travel between 2 continents. It's the boots that you wear today that are similar to the ones worn in 1950. And because these brands have survived so much over the past decades, they have earned a status that money cannot buy, which is permanence. You see, once a brand becomes a landmark of your life, it is pretty much impossible to lose. You see, at the end of the day, iconic brands aren't just selling products. They are creating a sense of permanence. So if you take anything from this video, let it be this: identity will give your brand a soul. It's what makes your customers see themselves in your business. Distinctiveness ensures that they will never mistake you for anyone else. And heritage turns your brand into a landmark that they can trust forever. And see, when you combine all three, that's when you stop competing on price, on feature, and you start transcending the race to the bottom. You move from being a company people buy from to becoming a symbol people identify with. So I want you to ask yourself this question. If you're running a brand today in 2026, ask yourself the question: is my brand a mirror for my customers? And does it have the weight to stand the test of time? And if you're not sure of the answer, you can click on the link below and book a time with my team and I so we can help you apply all of these principles to your own business. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.